Good morning, everybody. I'm Tolga Kaya. I'm from Sacred Heart University in Connecticut, United States. I want to talk about our data collection. So we at Sacred Heart, collaborating with a couple of other universities, we have a sports analytics group from computer science, engineering, exercise science, athletic training, and also sports management. So we have a group. This one was to compare two of our basketball teams, Division I basketball teams' performance, and then we'll get a few insights. So I'll just briefly talk about what we do at our place, and then just give you a quick story of what happened in 2 years. And then provide some data and see how things went. And then looking at the data a little bit, and then what we are going to be doing next. So this is a busy structure. I just want to break it down a little bit. So we collect a lot of data. On the top, we run a lot of machine learning and analysis and a lot of explainability. We look at it. And then we look at the performance of our athletes from different perspectives. We collect their training data. So basically, what they are doing in the fitness room. We collect whoop straps, sleep data every day. We also have athletic perception in how they feel. We collect the survey data and during their practice sessions and game performance. We collect heart rate data. So we collect actually 2 heart rate data, one from the sleep and one from the performance with the straps. So we look at their readiness from the jump tests. So if they jump on a force plate, we look at their explosiveness and readiness. Of course, game performance, the game statistics. We look at the injuries also throughout the season and what kind of an injury, were they sidelined for the injury, how many days based on that. And also we provide some insights to the coaches so they can take informed decisions. So I don't know if you are familiar with the March Madness. Have you ever heard March Madness? Maybe a few. So that's in March. So in the collegiate sports, Division I sports, as far as basketball, all these championships happened in that time in March. So it's an NCAA, the athletic collegiate level. So in this conference, there are 64 teams are selected. There are 32 conferences across the United States. And out of these 32 champions from each conference are selected. And then overall, some bigger conferences, they select more teams. And then it's ranked. And then the last 8 teams of those 68 play, it's called like a first 4. It's like a play-in tournament. And then we have a 62-team bracket, 64-team bracket, and then they play, and then one game at a time, elimination games, and then final 4. So basically, then the champions are set. Usually, best teams and then the good players, they make it to WNBA or NBA. So Sacred Heart University, where we collect our data, is a Division I school. And in 2022, we had a horrible year, horrible. So in the conference, there's about 10 teams, so we were ranked 8. Obviously, we made it to the playoffs and we lost in the first game in our own conference. So that was a terrible year. And now 2023, we actually were number 1 in our conference. We played the playoffs, we won our conference. We made it to the March Madness. We played the first 4 games because we were the worst in that. We won that game, and then we made it to the main bracket. So that was a great success. And we followed that in 2024. We were again number 1, but this time we've lost in the first 4 games. So it was a pretty successful seasons in 2023 and 2024. So now I want to just show you a few data, what really happened in those 2 years. So you can see we are looking at the 21-22 and 22-23 data. So the biggest change, if you look at just the statistics, is of course our win-loss. So it's 8-17, so it's a pretty bad year. And then the second season we had a pretty good season. But if you look at the other data, you don't see much difference in field goal, 3-point, rebound margin, turnovers, steals, blocks. It's pretty close, maybe like a few data points. But this wasn't really telling us like a story of what is really going on. So we looked at our data a little bit closer, and it was a little bit challenging because this is collegiate. Some students graduate, new students come in. Some players are common, some players are not common. So we wanted to basically compare apples to apples. So we looked at the team players. So we basically focused on the common players rather than the other players to see what was really going on in terms of their performance. So this is called like a weekly training load. So again, this is an exercise science term. So more like how much effort they're putting during the exercise, the fitness room. So how much weight they're getting, lifting, how many times they're doing it. This is not sport specific, but their conditioning, strength and conditioning. So actually, in the second season, their strength and conditioning efforts or the load was a little bit less. So they had more regular workouts, but less load. One of the reasons this is in the background was that in the first season, we had a lot of a change in terms of strength and conditioning coach. So a lot of coach changes, and then sometimes it was high, sometimes it was low, so that it was not consistent. So monotony and strain, these are the values that how consistent was the training. So the strain, the hardness was less, but it was also less monotone, which is a good thing. So you want to change the effort during the training. So this was one thing that we thought that was good. And this is the average game workload. Again, we used polar straps. So we used the polar straps for a couple of years. Their minimum heart rate was 14% less. That is significant. That means they are, even though they're working hard, their heart rate is low. So lower heart rate is a good thing. So that actually gives them, that shows that they are more prepared. They recover a little bit faster. This is another metric. This is we use whoop straps. So they use whoop straps 24/7. So these devices, if you're not familiar, it's just like an Apple Watch, no screen, nothing on it. It just collects the heart rate information. And then we look at the resting heart rate and heart rate variability. So resting heart rate did not change much. It's about the same, but we really care about the heart rate variability. This shows how an athlete recovers and how ready they are for the following day. So the higher, the better. So it increased 16%. So this is not only just they're sleeping well, but also their sleep quality is better, and that they're recovering better. So that's also a sign of good training, conditioning, but also good sleep habits. So somehow our athletes, I think, were getting in the group, so they were doing a little bit better in terms of their sleep habits. The interesting thing is that we collect this data and they're conforming it. It was a little difficult, but the main coach, the head coach, we are not sharing the individual athlete data with the head coach. We only share with the strength and training coach, because if the coach sees that they slept only 2 hours, well, they actually punish them. So we kind of had to split that so they don't know. We just give the overall data to the head coach. And in terms of the perception, so this is athlete's perception. So we use a validated survey. So I'm not going to go in detail in all 8 of them. I'm just going to stress the OR and OS. So this is overall recovery, and that is overall stress. So it's a scale from 1 to 6. The higher the better, lower the better. In the second season, they thought, again, this is their perception, at least perception, we're asking twice a week. They thought they recovered better, they were recovering better, and their stress was significantly less. So that was a good thing. So this was all data that we collected, and what we do with this data, we look at their performance, we look at their injuries. So this is all looking at the past. So what we want to do is we look at the future. So what will happen in the following game? How likely they are going to get injured? What is going to be the performance of the athlete in the next game? So we created this kind of a structure. So this paper was published early this year. So we basically look at the 3 aspects. So we look at individual player, and we will use some parameters like the readiness, and then we look at the team performance, and we look at the team's performance overall in the conference. So at the different levels, so that's a clear efficiency rating, the game score, and then the metric that is like with the readiness, with the jump metrics. And by using all the data coming there, and we look at how this impacts overall the team. So this is some sort of a confusing graph, but the idea is, so we have the team level, the game level, and the conference level, and then we looked at all the data that we were collecting. So from the jumps, from the heart rate data, their subjective and training data, and their sleep data, we looked at basically which ones contribute the most to the performance. So you can see that the training and then the sleep contributed especially to the individual athlete's performance. And then for the game score, you can see the polar data that we're collecting that makes a big difference. So these were our data, and then what we are trying to do from here. So we want to close the loop. So we want to really get together with the coaches and then make decisions together. So we are not in a position to tell them, okay, play this player, play that player, use this strategy, but we want to give them information so they can use that information to decide during the game and or for the next game. So we created a dashboard for the coaches. So I mean, this data is great, but you give this to the coaches and they're going to say, oh, I cannot understand this. There's too much data here. I don't care. I only have 2 minutes to make these decisions. So we provided them a kind of like a dashboard so they can look at it, look at maybe some individual players, look at the overall performance, some metrics. We just say that you use however you want to use it. And now we are also giving them some feedback on how team lineup and prediction. So we give them, okay, so next game you're going to play with this team. We did some web scraping. That is a defensive team with these kind of players, and then our players, this could be a good match. And we are doing this without looking at the players. We're just looking at the data. It might be completely different from their perspective, but at least we're giving them some information on that. And we're just now switching to a better conference, and now we're doing some analysis to see how we will fare in the new conference. So that's pretty much it. So this was a picture from the COVID time a couple of years ago. So this is my colleagues over there, and then this is like one of the jump tests that we were doing. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In terms of data, are you looking to the data of the team as a group or at an individual data? And are you missing some of the data you don't have? Are you still missing some data?
So, so the question is, the data is like a team versus individual, and if we are missing data. So we look at both individual and team. So we look at the individual level and also team level.
Okay.
So we missed, especially in the COVID year, we missed a lot of data. So we did significant imputation, and then we tried to figure out different imputation methods, not to override the data. This past couple of years, we have a specific students whose job is literally go harass the students to get the data and to make sure that they upload their data.
I was thinking about the type of data you are collecting. I mean, maybe there are missing some devices which provide you with some specific data that you didn't aggregate in your model. You see what I mean?
No.
I mean, are you looking to additional data?
You're looking at not necessarily, because we are kind of comfortable with the physiological data that we're collecting, and also the physical data and the stats.
Okay. Question?
So I think I can speak loudly, thank you.
No, you are not allowed.
Just a quick question about the WHOOP data. Does WHOOP have like a team functionality where like a coach can see all the data of the different players? And is that data easy to download and process further? Or can you comment about that?
Yeah, sure. So we have a research team dashboard from the WHOOP. So we get two sides of information. We get like a nice visual representation, which strength coach really likes. We don't care about that. We just want the spreadsheet. So we just want an Excel data, which we get for the team. So we don't have to ask individual players to give them download the data. So they can see it in their phone app, their performance, but we get the entire data as a spreadsheet.
Thanks. I have a question.
Sure.
On, I think it's table 3, regarding how do you measure the sleep? You had a sleep score, or curious to know how did you measure
the sleep? Yes.
Yeah. So the sleep score. So that's a metric that they basically WHOOP, the strap provides. So they. So the sleep score, it comes from the WHOOP. What they do, they look at the heart rate variability. They look at how fast they went to sleep, from bed to sleep, and then how long they slept. And they look at the each cycle, the sleep cycle. So it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. They look at how long their deep sleep was and the REM sleep, and they came up with the sleep score. They don't share that with us.
The other thing I was curious to know is about the conditioning. You did mention that the heart rate dropped. There's a table, I'm not sure which table is that. I think the heart rate has dropped.
This one.
How relevant is this heart rate? If the athlete is more fitter, the heart rate will drop, is it? I see the measurements there.
Yeah, here.
They say the heart rate was better because it's lower, hence it is better. And I take it that it also contributes better performance.
Correct. So when your heart rate, lower heart rate means that your heart is efficient, that it's able to actually function with a lower, pumping rate. And this is not from the sleep. So this is from the weight room conditioning. So, okay, like they're standing, they're going to start their workout, and at the beginning, their heart rate is low already.
But is it for the same subjects?
Correct. Correct. It's the same subjects. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I'm Marcus from I started from Vienna, so we're more analyzing also the data from WHOOP and so. But you mentioned the surveys you did 2 times a week or so. do you see any correlation or insights on like the performance from the survey you did, also from the questionnaire you asked your athletes?
Yes, yes. So there's a correlation with the recovery, especially with the recovery, not the stress part, because stress is more psychological, but the recovery part, overall recovery, we do see a significant correlation.
And also on game performance also from the question.
Yes, so a game performance, it's not like a direct correlation because there's other parameters that feeds to that as well, but there is a little bit correlation with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have last question.
And also you can have access to the, the bootstrap data, raw data, or
We have access to raw data.
raw data.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
This,
That's what we should.
Hi, that's another Zach again. Very interesting work, but I'm interested more from beyond this, like the coach perspective, how they are using it, how they are exploring that to make like more successful stories later on. Do you have any feedback about that?
Yeah, so there are two coaches. So one is a strength and training coach that's with them every day in the training room. Then to look at their injuries, look at their performance. So they look at this data every day. So they look at this data every day. We provide them weekly reports. We also provide them access to the dashboard. So the head coach gets the feedback mostly from the strength and training coach. And we usually have 2 or 3 meetings with the head coach throughout the semester, one at the beginning, one at the middle, right before they get really competitive, and at the end. And we give them an overall, what's going on. And they have questions. Sometimes they say, I want to know this. And then we go back and then create that data, whatever they need, then we provide. Yes.
And what's the next step? I am going beyond that. Your next step with the.
Our next step is basically have the head coach have full 100% buy-in, which is incredibly difficult for them to trust the data that we are giving them and then make decisions based on that. And we want to work with more teams. We cannot announce yet, but we're working with one of the top tier teams right now.
which team again?
Well, these teams are like the stakes are higher because their players are gonna be drafted and they're gonna get endorsements.
It's really a great work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.